This tape has been copyrighted. Any duplication or reproduction without written consent is prohibited.
Okay, this is the IDST. I don't know if you guys already went over this, but I'm going to go over it again because I think you need to see this over and over again. This is really important. The I, okay? First, the I. Now, let me explain how important this is because, and this comes to recruiting. This is all leads to recruiting. The reason I'm doing this part, IDST, that's the system of how I built my business, okay? And I honestly didn't have this formatted like this. I had a talk with Doug Hartman, again, and he's the one that actually came up with this terminology. Although I was doing all these things, I didn't really have it written out like this to make it make sense for people. So, the instruction phase. This is how, like, for me to duplicate myself, this is what I have to do. For you to duplicate yourself, this is what you have to do. First is the instruction phase. Like, I'll give you an example. Part of the instruction phase is our Thursday night meeting. Okay, that's part of the instruction phase where we bring in new people on Thursday night and we cover fundamental basics of the products and the compensation and all that. That's instruction. That's all that is. That's the first stage of getting somebody where you talk about, why recruiting, how to recruit. You talk about the F&A, why the F&A, and the intricacies of the F&A, where instruction. So if you're going to recruit, if I'm going to develop Dave Simpkins into a Hector Lamarck clone, because that's my goal, okay? My goal is to create a bunch of Hector Lamarck clones. The more people I could get to my level of competence, thinking like I think, the greater success I'm going to have in my business, right? So that's the goal. Rob, would you do me a favor and get me a water? Thanks. So that's the goal. For the first part, we're going to cover the instruction. The instruction phase can be completed one-on-one or in the classroom. It involves highlighting the learning objectives and giving the individual in-depth background information related to the subject matter. So that's all it is, like all this stuff, like one of the things you might give a new person a Norman Dacey book so they can understand about insurance, maybe the Nick Murray stuff so they can start understanding, mutual funds, that sort of thing. That's instruction, okay? The second part, thank you very much, the second part of that is the demonstration phase, okay? The demonstration phase can take place in two different ways, okay? One is in the classroom. A lot of times when we do role play, like if you'll see me, and I'll do that before we end here, okay, is I'll do a role play. How to make a phone call, how to recruit somebody, what do you talk about, how to ask the right questions, that sort of thing. I do that a lot. On the phone I do that. I do that all the time when I do. I'm always demonstrating what to do, what to say, how to say it, okay? That's demonstration. You can do that in the classroom. The other demonstration is when you're field training somebody. If I take Dave out in the field and we're sitting across the table from a client, he's watching how I do the presentation, how I introduce myself, how I say everything, and how I go through the presentation, the kind of questions I ask. I'm actually showing him how I take the input on the F&A, etc., etc. I'm demonstrating. Okay, that's the second part of duplication, is demonstration. The quality of the demonstration is very important because if I'm demonstrating properly, then he has a much greater chance to be successful than if I'm demonstrating improperly. Does that make sense? That's why it's so important for you to get your skill level up so that when you're demonstrating, you're doing it well, so that the person that's going to copy what you're doing has a greater chance to be successful. Does that make sense? It's really that simple. Okay, so that's the second part of demonstration. All right, so what you do after this is a key component of the demonstration, okay? And if you notice, when I'm going over stuff, a lot of times I'll explain why I say things, why I'm always doing that. If you pay attention, I'll go through something and then I'll explain, this is why I said that. This is what I'm trying to elicit. This is what I'm trying to make happen. That's the really important part of teaching. So if we go to the appointment, what I'm going to do after the appointment, this is what all of you should be doing. If you're a field trainer, we should sit down for a cup of coffee or at the office at the end or whatever, and say, okay, Dave, let's recap, all right? Let's recap what happened tonight. You tell me what you think happened. How did I close that transaction? How did I recruit that person? And he's going to say, I don't know. He's not going to know, okay? Because to him, what he saw was a magic show. Because he doesn't understand it all, right? It just went too fast for him. A magic show, the reason you have a problem with a magic show and you don't understand it is they're doing everything so fast you can't see it happening, so you don't understand it, right? But if you understand what he was doing, you could see it, right? But if you don't understand the trick, then you don't know what it is, all right? So what the key then is that I need to go step by step over what took place on an appointment and let him know what I was trying to accomplish. One of the things I would do is I would say, remember when they asked that question about, I'm not sure about your company. Who's your company? And then I say, well, we're Citigroup. You've heard of Citigroup, Travelers Group? It's a $700 billion company. And I came out with that little brochure and I showed them who we were and how we are in the Dow Jones and how our stock's done or whatever. Remember I did that? Okay, and that covered that objection they had. Remember that? And then they said that I want to talk to my agent. And then I said, listen, what exactly you want to talk to them about? Is it you want to talk to them about why they sold you this high-priced, low-value product, or is it you? And I would go over what I said, right? And then I would explain what I was doing so that at the end he knows what happened. He understands how I got from point A to point Z. Okay? So it's not some abstract thing that took place. I'm not going to assume that he understood what took place there. If I assume that he understood what took place, we're never going to grow. He must not assume, I must know that he knows. You with me? Because if I don't know that he knows, he's not going to be me. And I need him to be me, because I need to have him and a million other people out there doing what I'm doing, just like I'm doing it. Okay? So I'm going to explain what took place and how I made that thing happen, cover the highlights. And then what I'm going to do, the next step after I do that, right, that's the debriefing part. If you ever do anything, you're in the military, you had debriefings after every mission, right? Okay, you had a debriefing to make sure you fix any problems that might have taken place so you guys don't get killed the next time out, right? And you do that, okay? You should do that on every appointment as well.
What you're saying is it has to be right after. Like you just
Immediately when it's fresh in the memory so they can remember it, right? Otherwise, every minute that goes by, their memory becomes less and less, okay? So it's critical that it takes place right at that point, right away, that night, okay? Very, very important, okay? Plus, it allows you, like especially the objection part is so critical because clients always come up with objections. Me explaining how I overcome the objection and how I answered the question and role-playing it with him right afterwards, when it comes up for him, he's going to be much more likely to be able to handle that objection on his own when he's by himself. If he's able to handle the objection when he's alone by himself, then he's going to have success. He's going to be successful on his own. Plus, what's going to happen to his confidence level? It's going to go up. If his confidence level goes up, what happens next? Activity level goes up. Okay? So if the confidence level goes up, activity level goes up. Confidence level is low, activity has to be low because there's almost certain rejection going to take place. A lot of you are not acting, aren't making calls and stuff because you're anticipating rejection. You don't like the way it feels, so it's better to do nothing. Even though you want to do something, you can't get yourself to do it because you don't like the way it feels. Right? Most of you aren't making more calls because you hate the way it feels. Am I right? You aren't. I know it. Okay? I know that's the reason you don't make more calls. If you were certain that everybody you called was going to give you a positive response, how many calls would you make today? You'd make as many as you could get into the day, right? Okay? So then we know then the reason you don't is because you're afraid of what's going to happen. Okay? So that comes back again to managing your thought process about what you're doing and the importance you place on rejection, how you perceive it. How you perceive it dictates what we do, right? We don't make attempts at anything unless we feel comfortable or fairly confident we're going to have some success.
Actually, is it true that if a person really has a desire, a very burning desire to go on and prospect things they are supposed to overcome?
No, because there are some people that don't. It all comes down to how you process rejection. See, it's not the burning desire. I think everybody here has a burning desire to want to be somebody and be successful. Am I right? Yeah. All of you in your heart of hearts, you want to do well. I mean, there's not a person here that doesn't want to do well. Okay? Some of you have a better perception of rejection than other people, though. Some of you don't place the same importance on rejection as others. Okay? The people that place less importance on it do more. You know, like you, Fiji, you hear a rejection, but you don't take it too personally, right? Okay, you're not normal. And that's not bad. I'm saying that's a good thing, okay? You just don't take it personally. But another person, it devastates them. They can't take it. So they don't want to feel that feeling. Even though they want to be successful, they have a burning desire to be successful. The way that makes them feel doesn't allow them to do it. So the only way to overcome that is increase the technique and knowledge base and confidence in knowing what you're doing so that you perceive that you're going to have less rejection, right? It's the only way to do it. So you have to increase the knowledge so that the person perceives they're going to have a limited amount of rejection, which it will, when they feel like they're going to have a limited amount, they're going to be more apt to make attempts. Am I making any sense here? Much more apt to make an attempt. That's why, like for me, I hate rejection more than anybody I know. Okay, I don't like it, just like you don't like it. So the solution for me was, okay, Hector, you hate rejection, you hate the way it feels, what are you going to do? The only way to avoid rejection is make sure you know as much as you possibly can know about the subject matter, and make sure you know how to overcome, how to ask questions in a way to overcome any objections. So I focused on getting my technique high, right? Knowing my stuff, knowing how mutual fund, knowing the business, and then I focused on knowing how to overcome areas of concern in a professional way. So when I got to the point where I felt like, regardless of what they asked me, I'm going to be able to work this out, then I felt more comfortable to make the call, to prospect somebody, see? And that's where all of you are at too. If you can grow your knowledge level and your technique level to a point where it will give you more confidence, you'll do more.
Why is it? So let's say, okay, you have some people that'll take all the notes, they'll read all the books, listen to all the tapes, and yet don't do it.
Because they're afraid. Always comes back to fear. Always. 100% every issue you're going to have with somebody being inactive is a fear issue. Always. Just know it's fear. When someone's not doing something, it's always because they're afraid. 100% of the time. Okay? Because, see, the way you know this, you ask this question. If you have a person that's making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, and they see me, right? You all know me. I'm here. I'm real, right? I make a lot of money, right? Okay? So if you had a person that's making even $100,000 a year, they believe they could make the kind of money I make, what would stop them? If they believe they could actually do it. Nothing could stop you from doing it. But the only thing that stops you is the fear that you can't do it. Most of you are not acting to the extent you act because you're really just afraid. But fear is not real. It's all in your mind. You make that up. See? Fear in itself is nothing but something that we make up. If you think about it, right? Have you ever been afraid of situations that never materialize? You're afraid to talk to somebody. Maybe you've been even afraid to talk to me about something, and you've been thinking, I want to talk to Hector about this, but I don't know how he's going to react, and so you don't do it because you're afraid of what I might say, so you just don't even do it, right? Instead of just doing it and seeing what happens. See, you do that all the time with everything. You do it with your wife, you do it with your husband, you do it with your kids, you do it with your mom and dad, you do it with friends. You just do it all the time. Right? Am I right or wrong? Right, okay. Okay, so fear is like it's one of the nastiest things in your life. Your ability to deal with it is going to determine how successful you become, folks. Period. Something? It's going to determine that, all right? Okay, so demonstration. Supervision is the next thing. What do we do with supervision? Okay, it's two ways, okay? It could be in the classroom where this is what I would recommend you all do. Is you're training somebody, Joe Blake, when you get a trainee, let's say you get Dave Simpkins as your trainee, right? What you want to do now, once you go in a field training, you're demonstrating, you want to help them put together a presentation, their own presentation, and then you want to sit down with him and have him go through how he's going to deal with the client. You need to observe them. You need to supervise their presentation. And then what you do is you look at it, see how they do it, and then you fix what needs to be fixed. You talk about, listen, okay, that was really good, but this part, you need to emphasize this more. You need to make sure you ask this question. You go, okay, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. It's repetition. Just like, think of it like this, okay? A lot of you let people go out in the field and aren't really trained well, and that's really a mistake. It's like if you had, anybody ever have kids that do dance? Dance, okay? So they do dance, right? Like jazz or whatever, right? Okay? So when you take them to class and they perform, they compete, okay? If they do perform for somebody, right? Okay. So what they do then is the teacher of that dance, they don't just say, okay, here's the dance move, and then show them the dance move, and they say, okay, we're performing this Friday night. That doesn't work like that, right? What they do is they learn the thing, and they practice it, and then the teacher watches them. Okay, no, stop, let's do it again. do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. Okay, one more time, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. And they go over and over and over. I mean, I played sports, and sports is the same thing. We ran plays until you were like ready to pull your hair out, okay? The same play, over and over and over and over and over and over. Okay, that's right, that's how it is. And you might run it 20, 30 times to get it right, to get everybody in the right position and do all the right things, okay? And then now we're ready for the game. Now we're ready for the performance. So you've got to do the same thing with your trainee. If you don't sit down and watch their performance, what you're doing then is you're setting them up to go get killed when they get out there in the field. You see what I'm saying? They're going to die. They're not going to literally die, but what's going to happen, they're going to have a lot of failure, and they're going to go, I'm not cut out for this. I can't do this. This is not for me. I'm terrible at this. I'm quitting. Now, they don't tell you this. They just stop showing up. Right? That's what happens. So if you don't sit down with them and watch their performance and get them to the point where you say, see, I would do that until I felt like Dave could close me. When I thought he could close me, you're ready, let's go. You need to go see some people, dude. You need to go do some appointments, see? If you're not taking the time to do that, you're not duplicating yourself. You're just getting people and you're going through the numbers, okay? That's stupid, okay? That's way too much work. The time you spend, it's tedious to do that, but it's an incredible investment because now you've truly duplicated yourself. Now you've got somebody that's as good as you. Because if they're not as good as you, at least as good as you, then they're going to have less success. Does that make sense? Okay? So then what you do is you do that one-on-one, and then what you ought to do is you ought to maybe go out on 2 or 3 appointments with them, with the client, and you be the observer and let them do everything. And then afterwards, you do another debriefing. You say, hey, Dave, that was unbelievable. You did that incredible. There's one area, if you just fine-tune this a little bit, you're going to be a superstar, dude. And you just tell them like that. And you show them what they, and you make it. You're there, you just take little notes and stuff. Or maybe tape it even. Tape it. What I used to do is I used to tape myself. I used to give presentations to Jan, right? Bore her to death, okay? But I would tape it. I'd do every presentation, like a half-hour presentation, and then she would critique me, which she's good at doing, and then she would, and then I would listen to the tape. And another thing I used to do all the time is I used to tape myself as I was making calls to set up appointments. I always tape myself, and then afterwards I listen to the tapes and I go, oh my God, no wonder I didn't get that point. That was terrible, And I would start hearing myself, because we don't hear ourselves, right? We don't know what we sound like. We don't know. We go like, and we do all the things, and and all these things that we're doing because we're nervous, right? To buy time that we're doing on a presentation. And what you want to do is start working on eliminating that stuff little by little. You're not going to do it all at once, but do it. Don't be afraid to do that. Okay. So I used to tape myself all the time, and eventually I got to the point, hey, that was good, Hector. I like that. I would buy from you. And that's what I was trying to do, is getting to the point where I would buy from me. You know what I'm saying? That was good. That was smooth. That made sense. That was clear. Start doing that. You ought to get yourself a little $29 tape recorder and tape yourself. Like these things. I don't know what they cost. They're like free almost today, right? Those things. They're like nothing. They're throwaway. Huh? Yeah, they're unbelievable. Okay, so am I making sense to you though? Okay, see, this is the key for you guys to duplicate yourself. If you recruit people and you do this, you're going to duplicate yourself. You're going to have people doing what you're doing. Very important. Okay, and then the last part is training. Training is simply this. Now, once I get Dave through the instruction phase, the demonstration phase, I supervise. I know he's great. I need Dave to take, Clabe, and I need him to take Clabe and take Clabe through this process, this 1, 2, 3-step process. Once he's taken Clabe through this process, and then Clabe has also now recruited and trained somebody, he's done. He can make $1 million a year if he wants to, if he just does that consistently over time. You with me? Am I making sense? Please tell me I'm making sense, okay? So what I'm saying is if you can duplicate yourself, like what I'm doing right now, I'll give you an idea. I'm working, one of the things I'm doing with Rob. Rob is I want Rob to be me when I'm not here. So we're working together. I'm working to help him to get to be me, because as my business is growing, I can't do it by myself. All the things I need to do by myself, I get like tons of calls, 60 calls a day or something like that. I mean, it's incredible. So there's no way I can handle that by myself. Physically, I don't have the time to do it. So I need to have another person to do that, to help me with that, right? That's the purpose of the staff. So you can't build a big organization where you're doing 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, $200,000 a month unless you have a bunch of people that you've duplicated yourself with. You with me? That's your real job here. Your real job is not to sell insurance or mutual funds or loans or P&C or any of that stuff, okay? Your real job is to duplicate yourself. Now, we're going to do all those things, but that's not what you should be thinking about as you're developing your business. You should be thinking in terms of duplication. Now, the way that you do that is you've got to start recruiting some people, and now we're going to talk about recruiting keys, okay? Some of the things, almost all of recruiting is simply asking the right questions, okay? One of the biggest areas of concern that people have, some questions you should ask, okay? And you have this. If you don't have it, we'll get copies to you, so you don't need to write this down, all right? Get it to you today. One of the biggest things you need to find out is the questions. These are questions. And how you ask them is important, okay? How you ask the questions is very important. One of them, if I'm talking to Martin and I'm talking about his job, you should always ask people about their jobs, right? Hey, Martin, what do you currently like most about your job?
I'm on my own.
You're not locked up in an office.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I'm outside and stuff, seeing
Meeting people and stuff like that. So you can be by yourself sometimes. That's nice, huh?
Right.
Okay. What do you like least about your job?
The amount of hours and the physical work.
Yeah. So and what I might do here is I'm talking to him. I'm basically interviewing him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I write down, I would say freedom, right? Because that's what he likes about it. There's a certain amount of freedom, right, out in the field and stuff like that. And then I'd say, what do you like least about your job?
The hours and the physical work.
Okay, so now I've got some information, all right, good information. Now, he likes freedom, so as I'm talking about my business, I'm going to be interspersing freedom in there all over the place, right? Because he likes that. That's why questions are so important, okay? That's the reason you ask questions, because it gives you information. If you're doing all the talking, you're not learning anything. You're just regurgitating things you already know. If you're asking questions, you're learning things that can help you in the process. Make sense? You talkers, shut up. Okay? Start asking questions. One of the reasons you're not doing well is you talk too much. Now I know he doesn't like the hours and he doesn't like physical work. And I might ask, what do you mean by the hours? How many hours do you work?
Or about 12 hours a day.
Wow, 12 hours a day. So, if I know him well, if I'm asked, what do you make? What do you make a week, say?
About $900 to $1,100.
Okay, let's say 1,000. So then I know he's working 5 times 12 is 60 hours, right? So he's working 60 hours, so then I need to divide that. Oop, it's not that much, huh? What is it? 15. So you make $15 an hour is about what you make.
Yeah.
Are you excited about that?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, great.
Damn, that's it.
Now I got him more depressed. He didn't even think about that before. You see that? You see how it works? You see what I'm doing here? Okay, I write it down, and he didn't ever think about that. He thinks he makes pretty good money because he's thinking in terms of 8 hours, but he's actually working 1.5 times that amount of time. So if you really calculate what you really make, sad, right? For the time and energy you expend, right? And so what people end up doing is they end up doing stuff because it's familiar and comfortable versus because it's good for them. A lot of you are in jobs right now you're doing because it's familiar and comfortable, because to do something else would mean you have to change and you have to get uncomfortable and all that, so you just stay with what you know, even though it's not what you really want to do. That's what everyone does, right? Oh, I'm already pretty good at this. And then you start rationalizing, it's not that bad. I'm doing better than most people. And you do all that ridiculous talk in your mind, right? And all that is to allow you to rationalize your situation and to get you to not have to act. That's what you do. That's what everyone does, all right? That's why nobody succeeds, prospers. Okay. If you could decide what your monthly salary would be, what would it be?
$10,000
About
a month.
$10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that you can do that where you work right now?
No, there's no way. Not doing what I'm doing.
Okay. So I want to remember this, right? No chance, no way. So there's no chance for you to do that right there?
No.
So let me ask you a question. If I could teach you how to earn that $10,000 a month, is there any reason you wouldn't at least start with me on a part-time basis if I can get you to see that you could do it? If I could show you how to make that kind of money, $10,000 a month, and I can prove to you that you're capable of doing that, Martin, is there any reason you wouldn't at least attempt it to see if you could do it?
No, there's no reason I wouldn't.
Okay, great. Voila. You see? That's really it in a nutshell. You guys are going through way too much stuff to try to recruit somebody.
2 or 3 questions.
It's 2 or 3 questions. We already established. Now all I have to do is show them how PFS works and why it's good and why it makes sense and how we can actually accomplish that number. Okay? That's not hard to do. It's easy to do. Show them how you recruit people. We're going to do all that. Show them. I would talk about this IDST thing. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get there. We're going to duplicate ourselves. And just show them that, right? That's all you need to do. So that's his current job. But what happens a lot of times, okay, a lot of times what happens in recruiting somebody is that they don't think they can do it, okay? So it's very, very, very common. They don't think they can do it. That comes up all the time. And what happens, it doesn't really come up, that people don't say, hey, you know what, I don't think I can do it. This is what they say: I'm too busy. I need to spend more time with my kids. Whatever, okay? You know, you've heard them all, right? You know what I'm talking about. Whenever they're saying that, it's not true. Don't ever believe what people tell you about that, okay? Because it's not true. It's simply that they're in their mind, they're looking at this, they're thinking, I don't think I can do this. I'm too busy, Hector. I got to spend time with my kids. That's really important to me. They start coming up with all this stuff, right? And so you got to understand what they're saying, because you got to be able to read between the lines, and you got to be able to read the code, break the code. It's really important, because if you take what they're saying, you just take it. You go, okay, you're too busy. Let me go look for somebody that's not busy. Who's not busy? Huh? Everyone's busy, okay? So it's never true that they're too busy. This is what you do. And you ask the questions. What I'd like you to do, I'd like you to memorize this. When you listen to the tape, I want you to listen to this over and 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 over again, because you need to get to the point where it's reflexive, where you don't have to think about it. The questions come out just as they come out. It's very important, because when you get comfortable with asking the questions, and notice how I ask the questions, the tonality. I don't just, I don't read it like I'm reading a script. I talk. And I talk in my just low, casual voice. I don't ever get too excited. I don't ever get, you don't need to be Mr. Excitement. You just need to talk to people. People don't need you to be Mr. Excitement. They need you to talk to them. The more excited you are, the more like out there you are, the more you scare people. People get afraid. They go, ooh, this is weird. I'm not used to this, right? They get afraid. You don't need to do that. Ask questions. People think that being a great salesperson is being this overbearing, aggressive, outgoing person. That's not true. I am not that person. You know me. They've been around me a while. I'm not like that. I'm very calm. I'm very low-key. I keep my voice low. Especially when I'm in appointments, I talk softly because I want people to strain to hear me a little bit. I want them to lean forward. I want them to pay attention. Okay, so let's say that Martin says I'm really busy right now.
Yeah, Hector. Sounds good and everything, but my daughter's in soccer, and I'm already working like 10 hours a day, and it's just I get home late and stuff, so it's kind of. Right now the time's not really
kind
good.
of busy. Okay,
yeah.
I understand that. Hey, let me ask you a question though. But you told me before I asked you the question, if you could decide your own salary, you told me it would be $10,000 a month, Martin. And then you also told me that there's no chance, no way. That's exactly what you said. I wrote it down in here, that you could possibly do it at Frito-Lay. And then I asked you if I could show you how to do that, that you would actually do that. And now you're saying you're too busy. When somebody says that to me, Martin, typically what they're really saying to me is that I don't think I could do that business, or that's kind of how people say that. And so I want to ask you a couple of questions, because if I could guarantee you that you were going to make $10,000 a month, could you find the time? If I could put it in writing, and you know at the end of the first 30 days that I was going to give you a check for $10,000, would you make the time? Could you find the time?
Yeah,
okay.
I think I would.
Of course. So it's really not an issue of having the time, is it?
Well, no, I
not
guess
really,
not,
right?
yeah.
Okay. You see what I did right there? You see what I did right there? See, you can't be afraid to do that, what I just did right there. If you're afraid to do that, was I rude? Was I obnoxious? No. I was just repeating the information he told me. I asked him in a nice, soft way, because people do stuff without thinking. They say things without thinking. You must make people justify what they say. See? Like if your kid does something wrong, you don't take what they say. You make them justify what they did, right? Okay? You don't just take it, right? With people the same way, in a respectful way, right? In a professional way, not rude. So you told me you could do that. So really, it's not an issue of the time then, is it? Because typically, Martin, this is my experience. People do that because they just not, it's a new business. It's kind of scary. It's something they're not familiar with. It's, it's totally out there, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions. How long, what do you do now exactly? So I'm clear on what you do right now exactly.
Well, I go into, I service stores. I fill up their racks with chips.
With chips. So
Yeah.
you drive a truck and it's full
Yeah.
of chips, and then you go from store to
Yeah.
store and you make sure that
Yeah.
they're supplied.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, that's what you do. So how long did it take you to get comfortable in that job?
Get real comfortable.
Yeah, like to doing it, because I know there's a lot of like math
yeah.
and calculations and all kinds of
Right.
stuff to do with that, right?
It took me about almost 4 months.
4 months.
Just to feel real confident and comfortable that I could not have to really think about it.
So every day before that you were nervous probably every day going
Yeah.
into work, right?
I used to get home, 16 hours days and stuff like that.
And you were doing 16 hours because you weren't that good at it in the
Exactly.
beginning,
It took
so
me
as you
forever.
got better, the time was less.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that right?
Cut it in half.
Okay. So what did it take for you to get comfortable?
Just doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again every day. Same stores over and over and over.
So just doing it all the time
Yeah.
is really what it is, right? So if you just do something, at some point you get comfortable with it. Is that right?
Yeah. I guess so.
So let me ask you, would you consider yourself to be somewhat intelligent?
Yeah, I think I am.
Fairly, okay. So if you applied yourself, you probably could learn almost anything, couldn't you?
Yeah.
If you really
Yeah,
applied
yeah,
yourself.
if I applied
If you did
myself.
like what you did with your job where you showed up and you did it every day
Right.
and you just did it over and over, at some point you could probably learn most anything, right?
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can learn.
So if I took the time to teach you and you decided to learn, you could learn this business also, couldn't you?
Yeah, I guess I could.
You could. You know you could. Okay.
Yeah.
And I showed you that you could actually make $10,000 a month or $20,000 or $30,000, depends on you. So I've shown you can do that. You've just told me that if you applied yourself, you could do it. So really, it's just an issue of you applying yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what we need to do. Okay. This is what we need to do. I need you to get your address book for me. Okay. Get your address book for me. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put together a list. We're going to put together a list of all the people we're going to see. This is how we're going to start to build your business. That list is going to we're going to put the top 25. If you have more, we'll put more, but a minimum of 25 people. And then what we're going to do is we're going to determine of that list who you really, who you and Denise care about the most. Because those are the people we're going to see first, the people that you care about the most. Because the fact is, the people that you care about most, you want to make sure that their financial life is in order, right?
Right.
That they accomplish all their goals, that they get debt-free, that they have an ability to save the proper amount of money for retirement, and they're just financially sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be like your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your relatives, and all that sort of thing, your best buds and friends and stuff like that. Those people we want to see first because we want to make sure we help them first. If he balked at that, right? Sometimes people balk at that. They're like uncomfortable about taking you to see their best friends, their brother, their sister. They don't want to do it. The reason they're balking at taking you to see those people is because they still don't trust you. They don't trust that you're going to do the right thing by their friends or their relatives. That's the reason they balk, okay? If you ever have somebody balk at taking you to see somebody, it's always the case, okay? Because if they felt confident you were going to go really help them, they would take you there tonight, right? So what you've got to do, if you ever feel that, where they're balking at taking you to see somebody, the question you ask is, not the question, but the statement you make is this: Martin, if one thing, And I would probably say this as I'm talking about the top 10 or the people you care about most. I say, Martin, one thing I want you to feel comfortable with, and I want to do this up front because I want to deal with this objection before it becomes an objection. Okay, because it's always kind of there, depending on how warm they feel towards you. So I'd say, Martin, I want you to feel comfortable. If you trust me to take me to go see people you really care about, people you care about most, I want you to trust me that if we go see those people, we're never going to try to get them involved in anything that's not in their best interest. We're never going to, if we can't reduce their cost outlay, if we can't improve their current situation significantly, I'm never going to ask them to do business. Only if we can help them will I ask them to do business with us. So I don't want you to feel like I'm going to go in there and pressure somebody and sell them something that they don't need or they don't want. I will never do that. I give you my word, because if I did, would you ever take me to see another person?
No way.
You wouldn't take me, right? And I know that, okay? And so knowing that you would never take me to see another person, there's no way I'm going to do that, because it doesn't make sense from my standpoint, and it doesn't make sense even from your standpoint, because I want you to not only succeed, I want you to stay around long term. So I want you to feel real comfortable with taking me to see those people, knowing, giving you my word that I will never do anything to cause any kind of a injury to your relationship with those people, okay? I want you to feel real comfortable with that. Now, I want to say this. I say this every single time I recruit somebody, because I don't ever want that thought to cross his mind that I'm going to go high pressure somebody that his brother tells him, what the hell did you bring this Hector guy for me? I mean, what's this thing? He's calling me every day and he's bugging me, and that ain't going to happen with me, okay? It's just not going to happen. So, and I don't want him to think that, because then he won't take me to see anybody else. And I want him to take me to see other people, okay? So it's my responsibility when we go to see these people that I do a professional and a good enough job that I can get them involved without being a jerk. All right, that's my skill levels where that comes in. Okay, so we do that. We take care of that. Another objection that could come up. Well, let's go on with this. The next step is that we've got that handle. We're going to put those names together. The next thing is what we need to do is we need to fill out your IBA completely, and I need a check for $199. Okay, you need to ask for it right there. Don't put that off. Don't be afraid to ask for the $199. If you don't get the $199, there's no commitment on his part yet. The $199 is his commitment to do the business. Okay, if I don't have that, what's the point of me moving forward with it? It's silly. Okay, so I need that. Go get your checkbook.
Well, right now I don't have the $199.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I had a brand new Mercedes 1999 Mercedes-Benz parked outside that I told you, Martin, you could have for $199, but I need it in the next hour, could you find a way to get it?
Yeah, I guess I could.
You could, huh?
Yeah.
Where would you get it at?
Probably have to borrow it.
Borrow it? From
Yeah.
who?
My parents.
Okay. So then there's an ability to get
Right.
the money. It's just a matter of whether you think it's valuable enough. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So so what part of it aren't you not understanding that you don't perceive it as that valuable? Because let me tell you, it's infinitely more valuable than a 1999 Mercedes-Benz. This business isn't what it could do for you and your family. There's no question about that. So you need to do that tomorrow. Can you borrow that money tomorrow?
I could probably have it by tomorrow.
By tomorrow? Okay,
Yeah.
great. You see what I did right there? I'm going to get him to make a commitment to go get it, because then it shows me how serious he is. Right? Because it's never an issue if they have the money or not. When you hear that and they say, I don't have the money, it's a lie. Okay? It's always a lie. And you buy it. You can't do that. It's not true. If I offered you that opportunity, every one of you could go get $199 like now, okay? You'd write me a bad check. Right? You would do it in a heartbeat. So it's never an issue of the money. Okay? It just isn't. And then what I'd give them is, here's a copy of the meeting and training schedule. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get you in training Thursday nights, and you talk to them about the Thursday night training. You talk to them about the Tuesday night op meeting. The reason for the Tuesday night op meeting is to build your business. So you want to get people to that meeting and let us recruit them for you and show them the business. Our RVP, Hector Lamarck, comes there, and he'll do a great job, and he'll want to meet him, and blah, blah, blah. And you go over the training schedule, how important that is, that one of the things that you've noticed in the business that the people that do well attend all the meetings. It's one of the commitments that you need to make. It's about 6 hours a week that you're going to commit to. Can you commit to 6 hours a week of training?
Sure.
Yeah. Great. All right. You get them to commit to that so it doesn't become an issue. You don't want to go, hey, it's no problem. If you can't come, don't come. No, that's not true. They need to come. They need to be here, right? Your people that don't show up, do they do anything? No, they never do anything, okay? They need to be here. And then I'm going to ask them, what nights and days can you commit toward building your business, okay? So what you should have is a little calendar, and then you put them down, what days and nights. So maybe there's some, like when I started the business, my days off are Monday and Wednesday at my job, and I worked nights the other days, so I couldn't do the business the other days. I could only work Monday and Wednesday. It was the only days I could commit to PFS initially when I got started in the business. So I worked Monday and Wednesday nights. That's when I worked the business. Question? I didn't. I used to show up at the end of the meeting. I would close my store at 9 o'clock. I'd try to get out there by 9:30, and I'd run over to the office. And if I invited people, I would be there for those people at the end. That's what I used to do. So I'd run, and on Saturday mornings, I lied to my the owner, right, Steve Robbins, and I told him my son was in a soccer league, and he played soccer, on Saturday mornings, because I used to have to work Saturdays too. So I used to come in like at 11 o'clock on Saturday because I was at Dak's soccer game, which happened to be at the PFS office. Okay. And that's how I used to come to the Saturdays. And I used to come, maybe not stay for the whole meeting, but I'd show up so that my people could see that I'm there, right? And they knew my situation, but I made a commitment. That's how I did it. And then, I did that for about 10 months, and then I quit my job. I went full time. So I didn't do it all that long. So what I'm saying is, if you're serious about what you're doing, you will figure it out. Okay? You guys that make excuses, you can do one of two things. You can make excuses, or you can make money, but you can't do both. Okay? Remember that. You can make money, or you can make excuses, but you cannot do both. You must stop making excuses. All right? Your family doesn't care about how you feel. They want to make sure that the house payment's paid, the car payment's paid, they've got food in the refrigerator, and clothes on their back, and new Nikes, and all that. They don't care how hard you have to work. They don't care what stress you have to put over. They don't care what your driving schedule is. They don't care about how you feel. If you think they care how you feel, you are a lunatic. They do not. They want results. You think I'm kidding, huh? I'm not kidding. You stop getting them, you see how happy it is at your house. Okay? That's the truth, okay? Bottom line. So forget about this feeling good BS, all right? That happens after you've made it. It doesn't happen before. On the way there's no feeling good, okay? It's doing it. Right, Martin? Yeah, you know I'm right, okay? Absolutely. Schedule your training appointments. Schedule them right now. I want to say, Martin, who can we see this week? What nights are you open this week that we can see these people? Who is it? What nights do you have free, first of all?
Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Wednesdays and Thursdays, okay. Yeah. So what time are you free, like at 6 or 8? Or
After
what?
4 o'clock.
After 4 o'clock. Yeah. So we can set up 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I need you to do, who can you call this week that you can definitely get to see, that when you call them you can say, hey, this is Martin. Listen, I want to come pop by and see you. Are you going to be home? And then we don't even have to make an appointment. You have such a close relationship, you can just pop in on them. Who do you have?
Freddie.
Freddie. And who else?
And Felix.
Okay. Anybody else?
Marina.
Marina and?
And George.
George, okay. So then I want you to call them and tell them you're coming by and you're bringing me, and don't worry about it. Just be there. And we're going to go see those people first, okay? All right, great. That's how we're going to start. Because see, the biggest thing is inertia, guys. You got to get it moving. You got to get the appointments going. And then my job is, when I do the appointments, I do such a good job, he's motivated to put me in front of other people now. You see? That's my job. His job is to get me in front of him. My job is him to say, damn, that was great, Hector. I got this other person to see. I got this other... that's my job, to do that. Okay? So, you want to give them a short list of self-improvement material. Like, one of the things that I would advise that you right away get them to get is Nick Murray's The Excellent Investment Advisor, and You Are What You Do. If you don't have them, you should get them, okay? That's the securities part, because you want them to start working on that right away. Leadership, John Maxwell, Developing the Leader Within You. I would start with that. And everything else he's done, I've got a list of that. Anthony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within You. The reason I like that book is he talks about belief, okay? Because belief drives all action, and I want you to start thinking about that belief drives action. Hopkins, My Tape on Overcoming Objections. I think you should start listening to that right away as well. And then Becoming Wealthy, Robert, this new book, Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I would recommend that, and his new book, okay? Those are just a few things to start with. There's a lot of other stuff, but that's to start with. And then talk about the future like crazy. Talk about the future nonstop. The future is critical, okay? Total critical. One last thing, when you're doing before you're doing the when you're doing the presentation, this is some of the keys to doing the presentation, the recruiting presentation. Okay, when you're doing that recruiting presentation, the one thing you want to do is with the credibility part. You always start with credibility. That's the first part. You talk a little bit about Citigroup, Primerica, how big we are, blah blah blah. It's real easy to do. We've got all kinds of material on that. And you need to ask this question at the very beginning, okay, when you're doing that. If I'm going over this stuff and I'm talking to Dave, okay, and I show him, let me give that to Dave, and we'll turn it off. Okay. And I give it to Dave, and this is a question I'm going to ask Dave now when I'm doing this. I show him the credibility, Citigroup, $700 billion company, number one in the world, blah, 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 all that stuff, and I say, this is what I would say every time. Say, Dave, would you have a problem either working with or doing business with a company of the magnitude of Citigroup and Primerica Financial Services?
No.
Great.
Not at all.
Fantastic. What does that do? Why is it important to ask that question? Because every objection's gone now in terms of credibility. I asked him, would you have any problem doing business with or working with a company of the magnitude of Citigroup or Primerica? If he says no, that is no longer now an issue. I don't need to spend any more time on that issue. You with me? Some of you beat him to death on Citigroup, and you might give him way too much. You don't need to do that. It's not necessary, okay? You just got to do that, show him enough, get a commitment, boom, go to the next thing. If he hesitates, which I can't perceive that ever happening, but if he does, you say, what problem would you have with it? And then you ask the question, you find out. That's not going to happen. I can't imagine that ever happening, okay, if you show them who we really are. And then the other thing, yes? Question?
So you asking the question like Citigroup and so on. But generally, people are self-employed, working for themselves. What if the person says, "Oh, hold on, I'm not working for them. I'm independent. I may be selling their product, but I am independent." So what is
most people are not self-employed, number one. I mean, that's a very rare group of people. Even if they do say that, you're going to say, you're not working with them, but you're in business with them, right? Whenever you're working with, even if you're in business for yourself, you're still in business with other people, your suppliers, et cetera, et cetera. All Citigroup is a supplier. You want to make sure that Citigroup is a substantial supplier and you don't have to worry about getting what you need from them. Isn't that correct? Do you feel comfortable about their ability to produce what they're supposed to produce on their end? Okay, great. That's how you do it, just like that. Just make again, questions, no, I didn't say anything. Did you see that? I didn't say anything. I asked him a question, okay? So the next part is you do what you should have an A, B. We should just put this together because you know how they have on the loan section of the F&A now that has the before and after, which is fabulous for closing the transaction if you cover that. You should have a before and after on that sample F&A, that Jack and Donna Ryan F&A that we're using, right? You should have a before and after, before the life insurance, before and after on this, and on what they were saving for retirement, before and after, on debt, before and after, and all that, the whole F&A, before and after, okay? And have it just that same format. And then what you do, you just basically show them the F&A roughly, and then you say, let me get to the bottom line here, Dave. The bottom line here is that before Jack and Donna Ryan met us, they had $100,000 protection, and they needed $400,000. We gave them $400,000 for less money. That means that if they died prematurely, their family's going to get about $40,000 a year income versus $10,000 a year income. Is that incredible or what?
Yeah.
Is that fantastic? Would you feel good about doing that for somebody you care about?
Sure.
Okay, can you imagine anybody saying no to that?
No, I can't.
Do you see the questions I'm asking there? Is that way I want them, what I'm trying to do with this is I'm trying to get them to see the unbelievable value of the F&A. See, the reason somebody won't go ahead is they don't see the value. If they see the value, I want him also, when I'm recruiting him, by the time I get through with this, I want him to say, I got to get my brother to see this. I got to get my sister to see this. I got to get my best friend to see this. This is unbelievable. Everyone needs an F&A. That's what my goal is. You with me? That's the reason you're doing what I'm doing right now. Okay, so we cover that. Then we cover the investment part. Listen, you see the retirement situation? They were going to have, actually they weren't, we're going to probably be able to retire only for about 6 years based on the amount of money they were saving. Now with our plan, they're going to have $2.6 million, and they're going to be able to retire till they're, going to have enough money, even with inflation, all the way till they're 96 years of age. I mean, is that incredible? The difference that we make versus what they did. If they didn't have this plan, we're making, in this particular situation, over $1 million difference in this family's life. You see that?
It's a lot of money.
So if you could make that kind of difference for another person, can you imagine how excited they would be?
Yep.
How much less stress they'd have in their life? Can you imagine how excited they'd be that you came and saw them and you helped them? Right? I mean, they'd be pumped up. You think they might tell somebody about you?
Quite a few people.
Getting referrals would be a piece of cake, wouldn't it, Dave?
Yep.
You see what I'm doing here? Getting referrals would be a piece of cake, wouldn't it, Dave? Why do I say that? Because he's thinking, how do I get my clients? How do I see people? Because getting referrals is a piece of cake if you do this for them. You see, you want to set that up. So, and I go through the debt situation. Remember, they're going to be out of debt in the year 2045 before we met with them. Now they're going to be out of debt in the year 2012 or something like that. We're saving them 20-some years, 30 years of being debt. We're also, because of doing that, they're going to be able to save an additional $1.6 million at retirement by following our debt plan. I mean, is that wild or what?
Right.
I mean, can you imagine how awesome their life is going to be and how much better the retirement is going to be as a result of this, them getting with us? Plus, they're going to get a handle on their debt. They're going to feel better about themselves. They're going to be able to pass values on to their children that are going to allow their children to have much more prosperous lives financially just because of our being with them. You see what I'm doing here? I'm saying all this stuff because I want them to agree with that and say, can you imagine, after seeing all you've seen right here, if you were to see 10 people that were in a similar situation and you were able to offer this kind of value to somebody, out of 10 people you saw, Dave, how many do you think would go ahead?
I think all 10.
10, absolutely, right? So you can see then, if you got in front of the right group of people, that it would be literally impossible for you to fail at this business. Can you see that?
Yeah,
It'd be impossible because it's just too much value. It's just too good, isn't it?
exactly.
Okay, great. Isn't that exciting that you're going to be a slam dunk success?
I'm excited.
All you have to do is work, If you're not lazy, you're a slam dunk, you're going to be successful.
Right.
Isn't that great?
It's fantastic.
Okay, so then we need to put together this list. Do you see what I'm doing here? What you do then is if you set it up like that, they're going to do it. And they're going to be excited, and they're going to get you in front of people too. The F&A, I'm telling you, is the key, you guys. The F&A, because it's so laid out so perfectly, it's so easy to go over with them and show them. It's awesome. So you use things like, isn't it incredible the difference we make? Make sure you say stuff like that. And then I would say also, I'd say, Dave, this is the reason I'm so excited and proud to be working for Primerica and Citigroup. See, what I just showed you here, this is the reason that I gave up I was making $55,000 a year, and I gave that up because when I left people's homes, I felt, you could see how good you've got to feel with that. The kind of letters I get from people and the response I get from them when I'd see them again, and I'd call them 2 or 3 years later, and the mutual fund that we started with them now is now worth 3 or 4 times what they started with, and they've got money saved, their debt's going away, and it's just, it feels unbelievable. It's a great business to be in. If you want to feel good about yourself, if you want to feel good about what you're doing for other people, and you want to really make a contribution, I can't think of another business other than maybe being in the ministry that would even be, close to being as good as this is. See, and I'd say stuff like that because, see, that's more important to people than making money. See, people care more about what other people think about them than they do about making money. You all care way more about what people think about you than making money. No, I know that because you don't talk to anybody because you're afraid of what they're going to think about you. If you cared more about making money, you'd be talking to everybody. But you don't, because you care more about what people think about you. That's why it's so important to focus on what we do for people, make and show them what we do, and then what that does, guys, is it justifies making money. If I help Jack and Donna Ryan to the tune of $1 million or plus dollars, and I get a fee of $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000, it's minuscule in proportion to the benefit I'm putting in their life, right? It's so small, so then it makes making the money in my mind okay. It makes it okay. You see? That's why you need to focus on that and not on the money. Right? What we do for people. If you do that and you go forth and talk to people about what we're doing for people and the difference we're making, and by the way, you can make some money at this. Let me show you, right? And how you do that is real simple. You just show them, give them a few examples of what you could make on an F&A. You don't have to go into a lot of detail. All you need to do is do this, okay? And this will be it. all you need to do is do this. If that's dry enough. You say, Dave, let me just show you what you could make at this. I mean, you could see what we do. If you do an F&A, and if you're, say, a district manager with us, if you did every product in an F&A, you might make, maybe $800 or something like that, okay? If you were a regional leader, you would make about $1,200. And if you were an RVP in our company, you would probably make about, say $2,000. These are just rough estimates, okay? So, but that doesn't happen. We don't do every product with every F&A. We do one or two. Sometimes we do all, but that's not normal, okay? Really, at a district level, if you're doing a qualified F&A in the right market, you're probably going to make more, closer to about $400 per F&A. And if you're a regional leader, you're probably going to make somewhere around, $700. And if you're an RVP, you're going to probably make closer to about $1,200 per F&A that you do personally, okay? But the beauty of this is if you're a regional leader and you have a district leader that does an F&A, you're going to make the difference in override on every F&A that he does of $300. So if he does 4 of those, right, you're going to make $1,200 in overrides on that business plus whatever you do personally. Okay, so if you did 4 yourself, that's $2,800, right? So that's $4,000 that you would make as a regional leader with the overrides and whatnot. That make sense? Yeah. If you're a regional vice president, okay, that's what you do. Now, you just heard a bunch of information, a bunch of stuff. What you need to do is get the tape. We'll do it in 2 parts. The first part, I did, and we'll do a 2-part tape, and you can listen to each one of those. But listen to, especially the recruiting one, over and over. I want you to get the verbiage down. I want you to get the questions down. I want you to get the tonality down. I want you to do it until you can do it just like I do it. Could you see that if you put me in front of people, I would be closing people left and right? Yeah. Okay. Well, see, so could you if you master it. If you make those words your own. If you start asking the questions yourself, just like I asked them. And you know how you do that? Repetition. Repetition. You just do it over and over and over. It becomes, like, anybody have a favorite song? What's your favorite song, Dave?
Jazz song that have words.
You don't have any songs that have words that you like? Okay. Anybody have a favorite song that they know the words to? The River. You love that song, right? Do you know the words? Okay, why do you know the words? You know the words because you listen to it constantly. Okay? So what happens is that if you're just in your car and you don't have the music, you could probably know most of the words, right? You could probably sing, maybe not every one, but if you made an intention to learn every word. I was driving in today listening to the top, what's his name does that? Not Casey Kidd, the other guy, Dick Clark. Okay. Yeah, no, Dick Clark. And he had one of the songs was Celine Dion song, right? And I was thinking, I thought this on the way in today. I said, man, you imagine how many songs she has to memorize? Because if she does a concert, she has to know the words to every song she sings, right? I mean, that's a lot of memorization if you think about it, right? But because she knows the songs so well, she's done the work to know the words. Obviously, that's repetition. That's the only way you can learn it, right? She's able to do it. That's how she's able to have so much of her soul into the music, is because she doesn't have to think about the words. If she had to think about the words, she couldn't sing like she sings. You with me? If you're having to think about the words, you can't be yourself. You're going to be very stiff. That's why repetitions, that's why you have to listen to this over and over again, so that you have it down so well that you don't have to think about the words anymore, and they just come out, and you can be yourself then. And you can say them in your own, your own way, right? The way that who you are. You're not going to say them exactly like me, but you need to say them like you say them. They need to come from you, but the words need to be the same. Because all the words that we speak today are words we learned somewhere else, okay? And nothing we say is original anyways. So don't say, I can't say what Hector said. Yeah, as long as you learn them, you can say them just like me. Or just like you, but the same words, see, in your own way. That's the point. You can do that, every one of you. And Mel, you've done that recently. Let me have this because I want to just interview Mel real quick. Mel, is it on? So Mel Brasino, last month you had 5 recruits, right? And this month you're already at 2. Okay, so essentially in like 35 days you had 7 personal recruits in your base shop anyways, right? Which is fantastic. I was thinking that may be more than you recruited all of last year. I don't know, but
probably.
Okay, but it's awesome, and every one of you are capable of doing that. What did you do to make that happen, Mel? I mean, it's just kind of just run through what you've done to the kind of things you're emphasizing when you're talking to people.
Well, I first made a decision, like you said, it's the thought. You think it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I listen a lot to everybody and what they say, and I just write down everything and try to get it to where it fits me.
Right.
I mix words together. I may not say
some
exactly
of mine,
like,
some of somebody
exactly.
else's, right?
I do that till I feel comfortable with
Okay,
it,
good.
and then I just start practicing out in the field, because that's where I find it the easiest for me.
Okay.
Is when I'm already in front of someone, I already know their situation, I know they don't have enough money to meet all their goals and dreams, and like you said, you asked the question, can they do that where they're working now? Can they fix their situation by keep doing what they're doing? No, they can't. They have to change something.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it's earn more money.
Right.
So I go from asking the questions, depending on who you're sitting in front of, you just start to ask certain questions to get your feelers out so you know where you can lead them.
Right.
And once you know where to lead them, then it's just a simple 3 questions like you ask.
So what are the questions you're asking? Like one of them you're asking, which I think is really good, is can they accomplish their goals and dreams or make up the shortfall in their current job?
That's
right?
the first question
That's one of
I
the questions.
start
It's a great
with.
question to ask somebody when you do the F&A.
That's at the end, when you have the shortfall.
When you have the shortfall.
I haven't run across anyone who doesn't have a shortfall yet, so that's the first question I ask.
And 100% of the time say no, they
no,
can't do it
it's
there.
always no.
Okay, and then you follow up with what's your next question then?
Yeah, so then I go from there. They already said no. So if I could show you, or if you could allow me a way to show you how to earn that extra income by doing exactly what it is I did tonight for you, is there any reason why you wouldn't allow me to help you in that area?
Perfect.
To earn that extra income, whatever it is. You just
say
say
it sincerely.
I just say it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They know I'm talking truthful with them because I truly care about people. So when I sit down with someone, all my clients at the end of the night, at first their arms are crossed. Who are you? What do you want? Tracy's
trying to take
attest
advantage
to
of
that
me,
all
right.
the time,
Yeah.
aren't they? Looking at me like, and she's probably thinking, how the heck is she going to get them to be nice?
Right.
And then you just start talking with them and asking questions and showing that you're sincere about getting them to their goals and dreams, whatever they may be. It's theirs.
Right.
So then at the end, that's where I go from there. Like I said, you go back to earning the extra income. You let them know that you're sincere about helping them, and then you're going to find out whatever it is that's going to stop them. I don't feel comfortable doing this, or I'm busy, whatever it is. It's always an excuse, like you said. It's an excuse. They have the time.
Right.
They just don't.
Need some help.
They just need help. They don't feel they can do it, and then I just do like you just did right now. That's the next step.
Right.
As I ask them how long they've been where they're at, or what do they do right now, and how long did it take to get comfortable with that? And they tell you. You have to stop, let them answer, then you respond. Another question, let them answer. That's just what I keep doing till I get them to the point where they realize that, like you got Martin to the point. You just do it over and over, and then you become comfortable. Same in this type of field.
Right.
You just do it over and over, and you will become comfortable at some point. It's just right now, I'm not asking you to be comfortable at that. Right now, what I'm asking you is just to make the first step. What we need to do is we need to get you earning more income, don't we? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I need to make more money.
Okay, so then what we need to do, the first step we need to do is we need to start helping people you care about the most, because you don't want to just have all this information for you, do you? Would you like your brothers to benefit from it? Would you like your cousin, your friends to benefit from this information? Absolutely, because you're a nice person, right?
I would probably do it free.
You probably would, but why not earn extra income and help your kids get to college, or help yourself get to retirement, or get your wife to not have to work? You know, those are all things you want, but you haven't found the vehicle to get you there. Well, what I'm doing this evening is I'm trying to help you on a personal level, but I also want to get you to your goals and dreams.
Right.
So what we need to do is we need to make that list of the top, just make a list of 25 people. Let's start that, and then we'll see who the people we can help first, who need our help the most right away.
Right.
And we start doing that, and then we make the list and either call them right there, or I go practice with them what they're going to say when they call them. And then I said, now the next step we need to do is a preliminary step. All we need to do is we need a 199 check so that we can start your business application, because any business you have to have an application, right? Same with this business. It's a very regulated business, and we got to make sure you're a good person. I know you say you're a good person, and I totally believe you, but this is just a process we have to go through. And you would want us to go through that process because you wouldn't want someone coming to you that's a criminal or that's taking advantage of someone in any area, right? So that's why we're going to go through this process. So all I need is, I already have most of your information. I just need a couple of signatures, so that way you're agreeing that you want to come work with me. Is that fair enough?
That's great.
And then I flip
it around.
I don't write nothing because I have all this stuff from the FNA. I have a social security number. I have their address.
Get their approval.
The only information I get right then and there is where they've worked for at least 5 years and where they lived for at least 5 years. That's the only thing I need right there that night. If you fill out too much information,
Takes too long.
you scare them. Oh my gosh, this is so long, this is agonizing. So what I do for myself, all my IBAs are all highlighted because I already know me. I forget. That's why Ramon got me this planner, because I would forget everything. That's just me. I know that already.
So you plan for
So
that.
I plan that, so I have it all highlighted so that when it's turned around, they don't even read it. I mean, they're not going to read it. They start off. I do the initials first. You know why? Because I want them to say, oh, God, I don't want to read all this. I want them to do that, so they just start authorizing. Okay, what it first says is, and I read a couple of sentences, and they're like, oh, yeah. I go, overall, what they're trying to say is that you're truthful, that you haven't committed any felonies, that you want to tie your licenses with Primerica Financial Services, and you want to go service people, and you don't want to do them injustice in any way. You don't want to do selling away, and you don't want to hurt the client in any way. So what I need here is your initials here, and they start initially. I need your authorization here, and it's all repetitive. It's all saying the same thing over and over. The reason it does that is because it's going to different areas. Some are going to the home office, some are going to the state of California. So it sounds like it's saying it over and over, but that's why. So that's it. And get the authorizations, get the check, close it, put it away.
Right.
I will fill it out later.
Perfect.
And then I go back to the list.
That's good. That's
all.
awesome. Fantastic job. That is really, really, that's good. Isn't that great? I mean, that's just super. That's very good. Yes, give her. So what you see is it's not pressure, she's just asking questions. It's real smooth. And you guys are making something that's really simple, some scary, abstract thing. It's not. It's very doable. Every one of you can do that. Every one of you. But I think the key is the sincerity that you really want to help them, you really want to improve their situation. Don't think about your promotion. Don't think about, oh, this guy could be an override. Don't think about any of that. Think about, how can I help this person? If I can help this person, then all those other things will come. They're part of it. Don't think of what the benefit to you is at that time. Really focus on what the benefit to them is. If you do that, I guarantee you're going to see some great things happen, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, when I approach even this meeting I'm doing this morning, I'm thinking about, if you guys could get this information and really assimilate and do it, you guys are going to make, and you're going to recruit people, you're going to make more money, you're going to do better, right? If I get you to do that, I'm going to make more money. That's a given, all right? But if I need to focus on how to help you first, then I'm later, okay? That's the way this thing works. Help them first, you later. That's what it is, okay? And make that the focus with everybody, all right? One question?
Because the t-shirt that you give out on a monthly basis, white t-shirt, it says it all. It says, if your discipline were equal to your dreams, you could just do about it.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about it. You need to know what you guys need to do. You need to think much more highly of yourselves. You really do. You need to know. The saddest thing I see with people is they don't think enough of themselves. And so when you don't think enough of yourself, you don't try things, and you're not bold. And I want you to be bold. I want you to think highly of yourself. I want you to think, hey, if another man has done it, so can you. If another woman's done it, so can you. You know, that's the truth, okay? I've always had that mentality. I looked at the business. I saw people doing it. I said, well, if they did it, I mean, it's got to be doable. I mean, they figured out how to do it. I could figure out how to do it. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. But if they paid the price to figure it out, why can't I pay the price to figure it out? Why can't I do it, right? Listen, in your jobs, when you started the jobs you had, right, you went in there, you said, well, somebody else is doing this job. They could teach me, and I could learn how to do this job too. And you just do it, right? That's how you do everything. But with this, the upside is that there's no limit to what you can accomplish. There's no limit to your income potential. The only limit you have is your imagination and what you can do with it. I mean, there really isn't any. It really is limitless. It's really exciting. And we're in an incredible time right now. The market is going to continue going through the roof. It's going to be a wonderful time to be investing money. It's going to be a wonderful time to help people invest money. You're going to help a lot of people. It's just fantastic right now. I mean, I look at, even my family that I've had to help them invest money, how much better they're doing, friends, all that. It's just amazing. I mean, and it's going to just keep happening more and more, and you are the catalyst to that. You get to make all that stuff happen. So that's it. We will pack out Tuesday night, okay? Let's get Tuesday rocking. Pretty good turnout for a Saturday morning. We should have this thing standing room only on Tuesday night. That's how many. It depends on how many people you ask and if you actually take and implement the things you heard today, okay?